All right, guys, how we doing? John here, out in the shop from John's Custom Saws. We got a good one today. It is actually pretty amazing how many times I've been asked to do a video on pulling bearings, separating the crankcase, that kind of stuff. Now, I was actually going to do the video using the proper tool. This would be the Stihl tool. This one is for Husky, and it's a case splitting tool. And they can be used as a puller, a press, all kinds of stuff. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to change this up because if you have this tool and you know what I mean? If you actually have this tool, that means you are doing enough of these cases that you don't need a video on it. It'd almost be pointless. So I scrapped this and I did the video on how you can separate these cases, which I did this. I separated this case. I removed the bearing from this case, and I did it all with nothing more than what you could use from your scrap pile. If you had some scrap metal, some bolts from your hardware store, and one of these. Now, I know that's going to sound pretty ridiculous. Just watch the video and maybe this will help a few people because, again, if you're a trained tech, why would you be watching a video on how to separate a crankcase? This is a video on how you can do it at home in your garage with no special tools at all. And hey, I've been there, I was that guy. Shit, I've been working on stuff, two strokes especially since I was 15 years old. Pedal bikes younger than that, so I get how it is. I'm going to be real with you guys. It's not always specialty tools. You think I had specialty tools when I was 15 tearing apart my dirt bikes? No. So let's do it. I also use this tool. This is the only specialty tool I'm going to use in these upcoming tutorial, whatever you want to call it. And this thing is super slick. So that is basically for pulling when you pull your crank out and you have a bearing that's on the crankshaft. This is really slick. I'll show you how to use that as well. So I hope this was the right way to do this, and I hope I don't get a ton of comments saying, no, we wanted to know how to use the specialty tools, because again, these are super simple to use. So check it out. I separate this case, I put it back together, I pound the bearings out, and I do it all with stuff you got laying around your shop. All right, guys, check it out. So no heat. I have not used any heat. I've not used any penetrating oil, nothing like that. And I do have this stuff basically kind of tightened up, so I haven't tightened these down yet, but I just wanted to show that it's relatively easy. So I think you guys that are battling it just aren't using the right tool. So now I can already tell it popped loose already just by tightening these up. And I go pretty tight with these. I like to do as much of the work with these as I can. And now that it's busted loose really well, I'm just gonna run it right off. So you could have this in a vise, but I'm trying to do this on camera here. So it's literally that simple, guys. If you are really battling these bearings, it's not the right tool. You're doing something wrong. If you're gonna reuse them, or even just for reference, you wanna keep an eye on which way it came off. So if it came off this way, and you know that this is the top, or there's writing on the top, there's not writing on the top, keep in mind the orientation that this thing came off. So that one was real simple. Now I'm going to do the other side. I'll just back this off a little bit. And yeah, that was obviously no heat or nothing like that. And we'll talk about how to get them out of the crankcase. Some of them come off on the crankshaft like this. Some of them stay in the case. And when they stay in the case, that's when you're gonna want some sort of I use basically like a flywheel puller or some sort of a puller to get them out. And that might not even be the quote unquote correct way to do it, but it works really good. I've always found that if you use a puller of some sort and use the mechanical force of a bolt, that's 9 times out of 10 that's the easiest way to get some of this stuff off, because people don't realize how strong the power in running threads down really is. I mean, you can put some serious force on stuff to where you were trying to pry that off with screwdrivers or you know, forks and stuff like that, you'd battle it forever, you'd never get it off. And give this a rundown again. See, that one popped right off too. And this is on a saw that, I mean, these bearings probably have not ever came off. They're probably the original bearings. And this is the first time they're coming off, so that should just hopefully go to show you guys this how easy it really is. And again, to my point that if you're really battling this stuff, you got something going on. You need a different tool or a different approach. You need Bella. The first time she's not snoring and she's prancing all over the shop. So there we go. Both bearings off, and that was pretty simple. That tool, again, I couldn't find a link to that exact tool, but you know, the information that's on it, I'll share it with you guys. A2 SG1. You know, there's some numbers on it, but there's really nothing. Maybe I'll take some screenshots. That's what I'll do. I'll take some pictures of all the stampings, and I'll use my amazing editing skills and throw it in this video. So here it is, guys. So I will try to find an actual, like, a link to one of these, but it's GEDORE. And it says made in Germany, has some stamping on it. Or does it say A2 SG1? It just, you know, it seems to me like it's purpose made for pulling bearings off of, you know, crankshafts like that. Works incredibly well. I love that puller. So there you go. If you're looking for one, hopefully you can find that. Super slick. That thing has pulled so many bearings, guys. You probably wouldn't even believe it. That thing's got I've gotten my money's worth out of it. Let's put it that way. Well, there we go. If that worked out, I hopefully got some shots of the stamping on that tool. Now let's talk about realistically what, you know, 80 or 90% of the people want to hear, which is, how do you get the damn thing out if you don't have a special tool and you do got one of these and you ate your spinach? Because I'm telling you right now, you do not want to patty cake on these bearings. If you're going to pound them out with a hammer, you want to put it on a solid surface that doesn't give. I know this is counterintuitive to what a lot of people are going to tell you and what you're going to think, but put it on a solid surface. So on this is off a 044. This bearing is shot and it's missing. You know what I mean? She's shot. But it has these locating pins in it. I call them locating pins, where they sit in here and you uses it to center up the case when you put it together. And so you have say you have something like this and you want to pound them out. I don't ever set them like this. This is not a flat surface. You can maybe try to get like something on that, but that's not flat. Your flat surface is right here. Now this is a machined, you know, flat surface with a hole in it, so this is ideal. Not everybody's gonna have something like this laying around. I have actually seen one guy that said you basically put a pipe around on this like outer ring. You know, I don't even really deal with that big of sockets, so I don't have a socket big enough, but if you had a socket big enough, you could put it on that outer ring and then, you know, put one socket on the bottom, one on top, pound it through, because sockets actually work really good for, you know, you're supposed to have these, you know, special tools and all that, sleeves and collars, but a socket works really good. I'll just be honest. If you're going to save the bearing, don't ever pound in the center. So you'd never want to pound a sleeve or a collar that is smaller than that outer, I call it a race on the bearing. I don't know if that's the correct term, but collar, race, all that stuff. So I would use, that's why I got this one out, I would use a socket that big. Take the locating pins out so it sits flat on here, and use a heavy hammer. This is a dead blow hammer. It's, you know, decent size, and you're gonna hit that thing like you got a pair. Don't patty cake it. Don't be easy on it. My theory is, and this is not just a opinion and theories, I shouldn't even say that, it's experience. My experience, you're gonna have more problems by putting this crankcase on a piece of wood or a piece of rubber and sitting there tapping, and well, then you're like, oh, I didn't get it out, so I'll hit it a little bit harder, and then you'll hit it a little bit harder, and you'll have like 37 swings at it and you haven't even moved it. Where if you put a good sized socket on it. You put it on something that's solid. There you go. It's out. It's that simple. Don't patty cake it. I didn't hurt nothing. This is completely fine. Not a damn scratch on it. Flat surface, hard surface, no give. The bearing is out. The bearing was already damaged, so it's not like I broke it, but that's how you get a bearing out. You can heat it and all that. I don't play that shit. I just get it out. Hit that son of a bitch like you got a pair. There you go. The correct way with tools. I'll show you how I do that. Let's get this out of here. Oh, shirt's caught on the bench. So, might have to reset here. Yeah, let me reset and get this stuff ready. Okay, I'm going to change this up actually, because I was going to show you guys how you use the actual tool to split the case, and I just realized if you have this tool, you already know what's up. So let's show you a way, and I will split this case. It might not go the smoothest, but hey, that's what we're here for. I'm going to split this case with nothing more than some hardware and something. You could make this if you have a drill and some scrap metal. You could make something like this. A couple bolts from the hardware store. The way that this tool works, it goes over the bar studs, and you have different size attachments for the clutch, basically the clutch threads. So this is reverse thread and everything, and you screw this onto here, and you put the bar nuts on, and then you use this. You can use this to pull. You know what I mean? You can use it to pull this way, pull the case together, push. Use it as a press and press out split the case, press out bearings. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. But again, if you have this, you don't need to watch this video. So let's do it with something that anybody can make. I just think that's a better approach to this. So first off, make damn sure you have all the bolts out. All of them. If you don't have them all out, you're going to find out when you go to separate this thing, and you're going to find out the hard way. It's going to break something. And, you don't need to, like, some people will take a utility knife and cut all of this. Like, maybe if you painted the crankcase or something, then maybe you might want to do that. But I did have this HVAC tape on here. That's why you see that gasket messed up. So I did remove that. I didn't want that tape holding it, but this thing's gonna get pressed out with nothing more than a simple piece of metal and some bolts. And this is actually a Stihl tool, but you can make this thing. So you're gonna have on both sides, clutch side, flywheel side, you're gonna have threads already in the crankcase. So, and the only hardware I could find that was actually long enough was Phillips head, and I hate Phillips heads. It's like the worst damn I don't know what you'd call it, method of fasteners. Like, I'd take a standard or a flathead, whatever you want to call it. I'd take that over a Phillips any day. I just absolutely hate these things. They strip out all the time. Allen bolts are actually probably the next on my list that I hate the most. For some reason, I actually don't mind a standard bolt with, like, get the right size standard screwdriver, and you really wouldn't have many problems. So, but anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. So you're going to want to make sure these are threaded in pretty good. Some of these you will actually, they don't go all the way into the crankcase, so you want to get them in a good amount, but once you're bottomed out, stop. You don't want to keep trying to thread it in and punch a hole in your case. So I can tell where right there, it's bottomed out. So I got them in pretty good, and you're just gonna use this like a standard. Oh crap, this thing I'm not gonna be able to catch enough threads on this thing to make it work. That sucks. Well, trust me, this would have worked if maybe I will catch enough threads. This is kind of sketchy, guys, but I don't really have time to make or, you know, tap and die a new bolt, so hopefully this works. Okay, let me get an actual ratchet. So what's going on is I would need longer bolts. I'm barely catching threads on this center bolt, but I think I got enough. I think this should work. I hope so, otherwise I'm gonna look like a dumbass. And again, this is not the recommended way of doing this. I'm just telling you, if you really need to, you can separate a crankcase like this. Once that bond breaks, it'll separate really easy. So, not broke yet. There it went. See how it's separating? Now sometimes, if you're getting, like I'm separating in the back, it's separating back here and not in the front very well. So I'll take a rubber mallet. You don't even really have to hit anywhere with real direction. You just need to kind of, they get stuck on these locating pins. There, I think it went. A couple more turns. Sometimes too you can hit you don't want to hit right there, but sucker's does not want to separate in the front. It's stuck. There's a locating pin right here. Let me try this. Let me tap. Get the right punch here. Sorry guys, I don't want to edit though. I want to show you that this does work. So what's happening is it's sticking on this locating pin. There it goes. This one's being a bastard, guys. There, that locating pin finally busted loose. So there we go, now it's off. Now, I have not done this, just to make myself clear, I have not done this for a very long time. This is sort of sketchy. I'm just trying to show you guys how you can do it. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have this tool is probably expensive. I'm not sure what I paid for it, but if you don't have that fancy tool, you can, you know, you could use a piece of scrap metal and look at it, bent them bolts, but since I had them threaded all the way in, I didn't strip any threads out. See what I mean? So people are going to say, oh, you probably stripped the thread. I did not. I 100% did not. I would tell you if I did. In fact, I'll even run some bolts back in it just to show you. I stretched the hell out of these bolts and they are completely shot and bent, but I did not strip anything out. Yeah, this I can tell I stretched the threads out bad. So, again, this is just a scrap crankcase for a 460, I believe, that I have laying around. This is not a customer saw. Just using this to show you that it can be done. And then on the other side, it's going to be the same thing. So if you were gonna do it, I'd probably get really good bolts. But then there's two theories to that too. You don't want to if you use really good bolts, you might pull the threads out of the aluminum out of the crankcase. So you don't want to do that, you know what I mean? So if you use a little bit weaker bolts, if anything gives, it's going to be the bolt. I don't know if you guys can see this. Went right in, and it doesn't go deeper than that because the oil pump bolts onto that, those threads. Whoop. I'm just showing you that I didn't mess anything up. So I know there's going to be those naysayers, the haters that are going to say, oh, he probably screwed that thing up so bad. But I didn't, guys. There you go. So ha. And the other side, I don't really need to do it on camera and make this an even longer video, but it's the same thing. You would use 3. You're gonna have a much better purchase or whatever on it, and with the 3 bolt holes. But you'd find the 3 that line up, or make your own. Make your own tool. Pretty simple to take a drill and drill through a piece of scrap metal. But you basically, so I got right there. I take those 3. Oh, here, is that even gonna? Might not work. So I would actually have to modify. This is a Stihl tool. Oh, I know why it's not the right one. This is for like trimmers and stuff. But trust me, you could modify it, or you could get the right puller. Be the same thing, and you'd find you damn near can get it there, but it's actually doesn't work on these. So anyway, you get 3 bolts going into it. Same thing. You would press the crankshaft out that way. We already talked about how you can get the bearings out, and to put it together. Okay, here's the next thing. To put it together, people aren't going to recommend this. Maybe that's what I should do, is put it together. Obviously, I would use this tool. Same thing. You can use it to pull the crankcase because it threads on the, it'll thread on the clutch here, the clutch side, and you can use it to pull the crankcase together. But I am going to show you that what you can do. Let me grab there's some different hardware. Sorry guys, I wasn't ready for this. I didn't think of actually doing this, but well, basically you might need to start with longer bolts, because these are the bolts that I took out that were originally, holding the crankcase together. So it's not going to go on very, very easy, because this is all pressure fit and it's super tight tolerances. So I'll see if you can, but I don't think you can get. Okay, you can catch threads. If you can't catch threads, just get longer bolts to start with, and then you start your longer bolts. Mainly on the Stihls, you only need to concentrate on these 3 right here. Some of like the 660 and stuff, I believe, have 4 right here. You can start a bolt up here just to keep things centered. I'll put one up there, but the ones in the front aren't as important. So what you're going to do, you're going to use the power of the threads again to work this crankcase together, little by little. Make sure you never get your angles too far off. You know what I mean? You don't want to get one side going too far, so you're coming in at an angle. But you see how I'm working that crankcase together? Just going bolt to bolt. So don't let anybody tell you that you can't get it together by doing that, because I have heard that before. Now, this one actually spins pretty freely, but sometimes when you put a crankcase together, whether you use the right tool or not, this is going to be bound up. Like, this is going to be really hard to move. What you need to do is you need to recenter the crank. So put one of your pullers on it, or something that you can thread onto here, and just give it a tap. So you'd thread this on here, and usually since I pressed that way, it's going to take a little tap this way, like not much at all. Yeah, see, that actually did help. So it was a little bit tight before. Now it's basically good to go. That grinding is just because I'm not going actually straight up and down the way it goes. But there you go. That's how you separate it, push the crank out, get the bearings out, and I didn't use one special tool. This technically is a special tool, but you can make this. So I hope that helps you guys. I'm glad I thought of doing it this way instead of using the correct tool because, again, if you have the correct tool, you don't need a video explaining it. So I hope that helps, guys. That is some super sketchy shit, and I probably shouldn't even be putting myself out there that I would even know how to do that. But I've always told you guys, I'm going to be real with you. I've done it like that many times. You know, I wasn't always a certified mechanic. I didn't have a lot of money back in the day, and I had to make shit work. And sometimes that's just the reality of it. You got to make shit work. So there you go. Catch you next time.